Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth, and Phil Duvall will be joining me shortly. Today is Friday, and that means it's time for another viewer mailbag. We have three excellent questions today. Two people who have submitted questions before, very excited to see them back, and a brand new contributor. We're very excited to answer her question as well. Today we tackle the following questions. Whether or not a public statements or a public persona of an actor or director has ever turned us off from their work, and whether or not that ever could happen, I suppose. We talk about some of our favorite collaborations between actors and directors, and we talk about subtitles, what we think about them, how we use them, when we use them, why we use them, and what they're good for and what they're bad for. So that's what we talk about in today's viewer mailbag, so settle in, enjoy us taking you off to your weekend. All right, let's get started.
I get excited for Fridays. I get excited for mailbags. I really do.
Me too.
I get excited for not having to come up with original content.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that mailbags do is they make you feel important.
Right. It feeds the narcissistic bent in both of us, really.
The idea that our opinion matters at all
to anyone outside of our skulls.
Yeah. It's pretty fantastic. It's pretty great.
Is absurd, and our friends and viewers and listeners should probably stop enabling us. But what are you going to do, right?
They better keep going. I need this. I need this so bad.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So here we go. First question today from someone who has sent us questions before, Daniel. Has an actor? I really like this question because it feeds into Project Melway quite nicely, actually. Has an actor or director's public persona ever turned you off from their work? I'm thinking here of Tom Cruise's couch jumping, Mel Gibson's general insanity, etc. Basically, is there something a performer or filmmaker can do that would override whatever goodwill you feel toward their work? E.g., have Gibson's public sins affected the way you see some of the older installments in Project Melway?
It's a great question.
It is a good question.
And the answer for me is clearly yes. Yeah, absolutely yes. People, the less you know about an actor, the better. I really believe that. I think, and director to some degree as well, the less you know, it's really hard to say Roman Polanski and not think about statutory rape.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it is easier for directors just because you don't see them on screen. But I agree with you.
And I'm a hypocrite.
Okay.
Because I didn't care that Woody Allen basically married his adopted daughter, even though she wasn't his adopted daughter. She was his live-in girlfriend's adopted daughter or partner's adopted daughter, and who was however old she was, 18 or something at the time. I didn't care until his movies started getting bad.
Yeah.
But then once I had a kid and all that other stuff, I went back. I've been watching a lot of older Woody Allen lately, and it is really weird to see the development of that. Like we were talking about Manhattan yesterday, and it's like, or the other day, and Manhattan, like he's a 42-year-old man dating a 17-year-old in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, right. How did we not see this coming? You know, I mean, it's like he's so. And I think another thing that Woody Allen drives me nuts is he's really insistent that his movies aren't personal. And it's just like,
come on.
Just stop. Like,
right.
Just stop.
Right.
And yet I am attracted to his movies a lot, and so I don't know that stuff. And yeah, when actors get all political, and get really outspoken, it drives me nuts. Generally, because at least half the time I don't agree with their politics. There's things I agree with them about, but even when I agree with them, I'm like, I agree with you, but could you shut up also?
Sure.
Like, I agree with you about this. Please don't talk.
Yeah.
Makes me uncomfortable.
Sure.
You?
It's funny, and I don't know why this is, but I agree with pretty much everything you just said, and yet I can't think of anyone for whom I've experienced that. I can't think of anybody for whom I'm like, whoop, done with you, or even that it's affected, and and I would say that it's my background as an actor, but you have a background as an actor. Like I don't know why it is that I am so fully able to compartmentalize. And I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. I just think it's a thing. I'm not sure why that is, but I don't like if I believe you on screen, then we're done. That's the end of my relationship with you. Does that make sense?
I think that's really great.
Course,
That's the way I'd like it to be. My buddy
right.
in seminary, he accused me of being an ideologue, and he might be right. I mean, there's times when my ideals and my idealism gets in the way of just enjoyment of things, and I get really hoity-toity in my head and overly serious. So it's completely possible that, like Tom Cruise, I'm not done with him.
When we talk
about
him, you sometimes sound like you're done with him. I mean, you do.
I really liked Mission Impossible 4.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole time I'm liking it, and I'm liking it sort of like, all right, I like this despite the odds. Like that's sort of how I'm watching it.
I mean, and again, I'm not saying that this is something that you or I don't know anyone else who feels the way I do, so I'm not saying that this is something that you or anyone else in the world hasn't thought of, but I feel like, not to get too philosophical, but like there's no way to really know somebody, right? Like Mel Gibson was crazy before we knew he was crazy. Tom Cruise was crazy before the spotlight on Scientology.
So for some reason, Mel Gibson's crazy doesn't bother me the same way Tom Cruise's crazy bothers me. And some people would probably say it's because he's a devout Christian, but I don't think that's it. Plenty of devout Christians that are crazy really bother me.
Sure.
He's clearly an alcoholic, and addiction stuff really. I have some sympathy and compassion for it. Not that I'm saying no one else does. I'm not, but in a particular, it really like when my gut reaction when someone is struggling with addiction in a very obvious way and clear mental instability in an obvious way where it's clear that he's struggling. Like what we see is like you go, oh, it's not like, oh, he's a jerk. Like David O. Russell, David O. Russell's another one. David O. Russell, when the stuff came out about I Heart Huckabees, the way he treated his actors and the stuff about the way he treated the crew on Three Kings, and he got into an altercation with George Clooney about it.
Yep.
That had a very adverse effect, and I didn't see another. I ended up seeing. I skipped I Heart Huckabees because of it, which is my stuff. I ended up seeing The Fighter and. Loved it, and ended up seeing Silver Linings Playbook and loved it. But there is a level where I just kind of had to overcome what I thought of him because of that, where he was just being a jerk.
I don't want to. This is as far as I'll go.
I don't want
to like his movies. I do.
Right. And that's the way I feel, and it makes me want to understand. It's like I want to go talk to Mark Wahlberg about it because apparently Mark Wahlberg gets him, and I want to be like, teach me, Mark Wahlberg, use your sensitive voice, Mark, because he's got that way. He goes up into that extra register.
It's true.
But Mel Gibson, you see him losing it and I don't. Like I believe that he's going crazy, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like
I pity him. If anything, I feel bad for him.
Right, and here's the other thing, and I pull for him. I actually root. I go the other direction where I root for him. I'm like, I want you to pull out of this, man.
Here's the other thing. He is clearly, legitimately, and honestly friends with people like Jodie Foster, and Jodie Foster is not an idiot, right? Like,
although Golden Globes ceremony told us she might not be also totally there, but she's not an idiot. Not an idiot.
Fair. I think you and I might have
other
a different
people
take on that.
He does legitimately have friends of other races and friends of.
Yes, and these are not idiots. And while I think why does Mel Gibson keep getting jobs when the Jews run Hollywood? I mean, the answer to that, Jew or not, if your employer can make money off of you, he's going to give you a job. But that's not what I'm talking about. No one was paying Jodie Foster to sit near, not only just to sit near him in the Golden Globes, but to cast him in the movie she directed, The Beaver, right? Like, and it isn't worth it. You have to be so supremely talented for it to be worth. You have to be basically David O. Russell for it to be worth someone working with you when they think you're going to be just a total pill to work with. And I don't think, I think Mel Gibson is very talented, but there are plenty of people, there are at least a few other people in Hollywood that can do what he does, right? So there has to be some sort of genuine affection for him. And it's not just Jodie Foster. It's Robert Downey Jr. It's like a
Right.
whole host of people that keep working with him. And so when I say something like, we don't know the whole story. We don't know, how can you ever really know someone? That's what I'm talking about.
And
So
we
when
don't, and you're right, and you're
Yeah.
right. That's why people's behavior. Tom Cruise's for some reason bothers me so much because we don't actually see him melting down. We see him like trying to control
Yes.
things,
Sure.
and it freaks me out.
That's fair.
And Scientology just freaks me out.
It's fair.
So, anyways, we should probably.
Yeah. Daniel,
on, but-
I hope
but-
that answers
but-
your question.
But I think it's a good question. I was very surprised when I first suggested Project Melway, like half jokingly, that you went for it, because I was like, well, you are Jewish. I wonder how you can, if you'd really want to watch that much Mel Gibson. But you were like, I don't care, whatever.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Mel Gibson had been like, all Episcopalians or whatever. I might have been like,
Right.
you watch it, buddy. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I
Sure.
don't know. Let's see. So anyways.
Daniel, I hope that answers your question. Let's move on. From friend of the podcast, John. Hello, John.
Hi, John.
Gents. Gents.
Aw.
Could you discuss some of your favorite actor-director collaborations that have spanned multiple non-series films? Please feel free to expand collaborations as you see fit, such as including producers or other off-screen talent.
Don't read the whole thing.
Background example, I spent my Sunday at a Kurt
You're
Russell
gonna read
movie
the whole thing.
marathon. What'd you say?
You're going to read the whole thing.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
not the whole
man,
thing.
it's-
And
okay.
we're taking more time because you stopped me. I spent my Sunday, yeah, that's right, I went there. Spent my Sunday at a Kurt Russell movie marathon. They did Captain Ron, Escape from New York, Dreamers, Breakdown, Big Trouble in Little China. One film we expected to make the cut, which didn't, was The Thing, which would have made a total of 3 John Carpenter, Kurt Russell collaborations one day. Those
Yeah.
being, for those who are not movie geeks, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China, and The Thing. Which, I mean, I would always put The Thing in a Kurt Russell movie marathon, but that lineup sounds great. So outside of John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, favorite collaborations?
I mean, this is such a stock answer, but the whole idea of at film, the thing that introduced me to the actor and director working together over and over again was De Niro and Scorsese.
Yes.
It introduced me to the very notion that could be a thing that happened.
Right.
Because he was in like 5 of his movies in a row, He was
Yeah.
in Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, Kings of Comedy, and then, of course, Goodfellas and Casino. I mean, it's just...
Boom, 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 boom. Yes.
They
Yes.
weren't all, and not all those were in a row, but a couple of them were in a row.
Right.
And then it was one of those things where it's like... And he hasn't worked with him since Casino, and I kind of want to be like, what happened?
Right.
Like,
Right.
what's going on, you guys? I get a little hurt. And then he goes around and does it with Leonardo DiCaprio. Scorsese
Right.
does it with Leonardo DiCaprio. By the way,
see-
same effect.
Yeah.
Same effect.
Yeah.
Just,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I
I think
love The Aviator. I love The Aviator. I love it. It's a very underrated Scorsese flick.
Sure.
Anyways, that was for me that introduced me to the idea.
Sure.
And it made me think in terms of like, wow, that's just, I mean, obviously, anyway, so that's my first answer.
Sure. I have two. I have two. My fun and somewhat silly one is Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Oh, yeah.
The Evil Dead movies, the Spider-Man movies. They're just like, they just so clearly get each other, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you want to mean when you say fun with the work that you do, like whether it's campy or whether it's just I've really got something here,
Yeah.
and like wherever you fall on that spectrum, it's clear that Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi fall at exactly the same place. And it
Yes.
manifests slightly differently because one's a director and producer and one's an actor. But I mean, every time Sam Raimi does something, I look to see if Bruce Campbell has a part, and he usually does. And it's
unfortunate it hasn't been a big part in a long time.
that's
like
true.
It's been cameos. I'd love to see an actual collaboration with them again.
I agree with you.
Billy Wilder, Jack Lemmon needs to be mentioned.
Oh, yes.
It's such a fruitful collaboration. If a movie's directed by Billy Wilder and starring Jack Lemmon, you are not going to go wrong.
That is true. That is true.
You're just not. It's so good. And then I read something recently, or heard something recently, that I thought it made me believe in the world. Like, it was so sweet and wonderful. When Tarantino's done with the script, he sends it to Sam Jackson and says, "Do you see yourself as any part in this?" That actually happens. That, according to Sam Jackson, he sends him a script and says, "Anything in here for you?"
That is amazing.
And that, like, I love that, and it works, obviously. But I love that relationship. Like, I love whatever relationship Tarantino and Sam Jackson have, and obviously the Uma Thurman Quentin Tarantino relationship is really cool. He's someone who gets caring with having relationships with actors. I think is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
I
mean, hit me with that. Do you remember that? I'm almost positive it's a David Mamet quote about working with the same people over and over again.
He's like, why do you work with the same people? That's like asking, like, why are you faithful to your wife? Like, why do you not, like, why would I date a bunch of other people after I found this group of people? Like, right. he likes it to a relationship. And I almost brought him up, except that I don't necessarily like all the people he casts in his movies, but he works consistently in theater and film. Mamet works consistently with Macy, William H. Macy, and Joe Mantegna, who are two actors who actually know how to speak his dialogue.
Yes,
his dialogue is really tricky, and some people it just comes out really, really stilted. And I don't want to name any names on that, but it doesn't work for everybody. But it works really, really well for Joe Mantegna, and it works really well for William H. Macy.
Yes,
and I love David Mamet just so much. So. But yeah. Oh, and you can't have this conversation without saying Coen Brothers, John Goodman. Coen Brothers, John Goodman. It's just ridiculous.
I would say I don't disagree with you at all. But what pops in my head, and maybe this is a little obvious because she's married to one of them, is Frances McDormand.
Yes.
She's just wonderful. Just flat out wonderful all the time, and I whether it's an accident or not, some of her best roles are written for her and directed for her by her husband and brother-in-law.
Yeah, and why not? I say.
Right.
I mean, it's they get each other. I don't care what it takes. I think I love the idea of making this movies over and over again, different movies with the same cast. Yes. I think that's a great idea.
The last collaboration that I want to talk about, even though I mean it's only 2 movies really. They did more, but it's about 2. Is Spielberg and Richard Dreyfuss. I mean, Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. If either of them had only done those 2 movies, that's a career, man. Like those are brilliant movies. And if we have anyone watching or listening to this that says, Jaws is just a stupid action film about a shark, you need to watch it again.
No one's going to say that. Come on.
There's
no people in the world that say that anymore, are there?
I hope not. And Close Encounters of the Third Kind is truly one of the most beautiful science fiction movies ever made. It is science fiction for people who do not like science fiction because it's about the characters. And I think when Spielberg is at his best, he is a master at creating characters and that live fully formed in the mind of anyone who watches the movies they inhabit. But he needs to be reined in at times, as does Richard Dreyfuss. And I think that when it is right, as it is in Jaws, as it is in Close Encounters, as it isn't really in Always, their other movie together.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
So
like
did
the
they.
rest of America.
So did they. When they are reining each other in rather than enabling each other, I think it's really beautiful. And that's my last answer for that. Good?
I think so.
Okay.
It just made me think about the fact that Michael Mann, who's one of my favorite directors, or was for a while, I was trying to figure out if he had a collaborating relationship with a specific actor, and he didn't. And I think one of the biggest problems with Michael Mann movies is that his movies are never, well, he has worked with Jamie Foxx twice, but other than that, like, his movies are never, or 3 times. He worked with Jamie Foxx 3 times, so maybe that's close, but 2 of them were supporting roles. But Michael Mann, one of his biggest problems with his movies is for some reason they feel clinical and not personal quite often.
I agree with that.
And if he worked with someone over and over again, I feel like that got his language. Maybe he could flesh out a character or a person that might help Michael Mann's filmmaking. Not that Michael Mann asked for my help.
Right.
He also worked with Pacino twice. He worked with Pacino twice. One of them it was terrible, but one of them was awesome. The Insider. The Insider is one of my favorite movies. Russell Crowe and Al Pacino.
Yeah, it's
Just
so good. It's so
one of
good.
the best. One of the best.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I lost it. It's gone. I
Okay.
forgot it. It was
Well,
another really good collaboration. It's
great.
gone.
Okay. We're moving
There's so
on.
many.
Well,
Okay.
there's so many. There's so many. We can come back to this question another time.
Well, I wanted to talk about Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall working with John Hughes for 2 movies, but that's not even the thing I was thinking about just then. They're
That's
also
actually kind of lovely. I like that as well.
yeah, very special. Okay, continue.
Actually, moving on, Mister. From new contributor, you're right there. You're right.
I'm still secretly trying to think about what the other collaborator was in it.
Do you see what I have to put up with?
Oh, your
look at
life
that
is so
face.
hard.
Look at that face.
All right, first world problem. What do you got?
Last question for the day. From new contributor Lori. Hello, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Andy and Phil. I'd love to hear your feelings about subtitles. I often turn on the subtitle option if I'm watching a movie at home, not just when it's a foreign film, but for English-speaking films, and I'm not even hearing impaired. In addition to better understanding things like Cockney accents, it brings a lot of insight to what's really being said by low talkers or mumblers. Sometimes the subtitle authors also have really beautiful descriptions of what music is playing or what subtle sounds are being made. I know it can be distracting in some movies. Really, font size 64 is not necessary. It's not subtitles for the blind. But I often find they enhance my movie watching experience. Any deep thoughts on this?
I have one deep thought.
Yes.
You're a weirdo, Lori.
Why specifically is she a weirdo?
I'm kidding. No, I just love that someone's that in depth about something. I could care less. I don't mind subtitles in foreign films. After a minute, you don't really care. If it's a good movie, you don't even notice anymore. You just don't really notice.
Agreed.
I have noticed that since the advent of I think DVD does this for sure. I think DVDs do it, but Blu-rays definitely do it, where you click the subtitle button and and there's a subtitle button and you click it and then you could just pop on subtitles for things, and it's been very, very helpful for me. Rewinding something and then hit subtitles and you can find out what someone said. But I don't watch movies with subtitles. Although the other day my wife and I were watching Crying Game and she had a cold, so she couldn't her ears were stuffed up and she kept going, "What? What? What?" And I was like, "Oh my God, what do you want?" And she was like, "I can't understand these Irish people. I can't." I find it weird when movies show subtitles for people who are speaking English. It bothers me, actually. If TV shows and reality shows will do it sometimes. And I'm like, just let me not understand them.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Especially reality shows.
Not that they're spouting like philosophical greatness of our time, but
Exactly. I mean, there's a part of me that's just like that's how they talk. If I was sitting there, I wouldn't understand them. What's the problem? I don't know. I don't know.
That drives me up a wall if I can't understand what's going on. I like subtitles. The danger I find there are two. One, I find myself, even if I forget, as you say, I agree with you. If it's a good enough movie, you forget that there are subtitles. But I still find myself reading them rather than watching the movie. And that bothers me because I want to take in. I don't know that there's a way to have subtitles on and truly experience the entire frame. I have said that if I could have any superpower, it would be to be fluent in every language in the world, and that's not because then I'd never have to deal with subtitles, but that would be a nice perk, right?
I would love it. I'd never thought of that. That's a great superpower.
Thanks.
I really would love to learn it. I would love to be able to have the babblefish in my ear and just be able to understand and speak.
Totally. The other problem is there is no way to do this because, again, you can't experience the entire frame if you're looking up and down. There's no way to have the words leave the person's mouth and you read them at the same time. So it's either coming before and you know what they're about to say, or it's coming after and you're missing the reaction.
I hate when you know what they're about to say.
It's so
what you're saying is you kind of don't like subtitles.
I don't, but I love foreign films. I mean, I don't love them more than American films. I love good films, and many of them are made in other places in other languages.
I like movies less if they are foreign. I completely acknowledge that.
This is not the first time this week that we've dealt with your xenophobia.
No, no. I mean, I like movies less when they're foreign. I don't. Not on principle. It's just like you'll be like, "Hey, we're gonna watch this movie," and I'm like, "Okay." Like it's not like, and I'll watch them and love them. Like I love Akira Kurosawa, but while I say the words "I love Akira Kurosawa," there's like this little voice in my head going, "You're such a snob. Just stop." Um, yeah, okay. I have so many things to say about that. I hate when
Sure.
people are like, I only watch BBC America.
Shut
Just
up.
stop.
Just
Just
stop it.
stop it.
And
Like,
when I do, I turn the subtitles on.
yeah. No, I don't. I just,
Yeah.
people who are like, British comedy's just better. It's just like, then move there. I actually feel that way. Just move there. This is America. We think getting kicked in the crotch is funny. Welcome or go. I don't want to hear like, or make better comedy. Make comedy American comedy that you like, but don't do the whole like, I just have more of a British sensibility. You know, the French really understand. No, no, they don't.
I
No.
guarantee the French are not the people that really understand you. Random jerk who you met someplace. Yeah, no, totally.
I am now officially angry at a person that I can't even imagine. Like it's a person that it's not like one of my good friends. I just
Nice. Yeah, no, it's true. And again, I guess Lori, the upshot is I'm very conflicted when it comes to subtitles because I love what they can do for me because they open up movies that I would literally never bother seeing, right?
That's true. That's true.
But and you also have I just thought of
I
this.
love what she does, though. I love what she does. I think it's really cool. I would not do it, but I love it. I want as little distraction as possible.
Yeah.
Do you remember there was a time when you couldn't rewind television and someone would say something, and if you didn't understand them,
You're done.
just
You're done.
and there was no DVR, so if you didn't record it, which you probably didn't, you literally never knew what that person said unless you bought the video. If they put it out on video,
If they put yes, you're just
the
out of luck.
level of accessibility we have now is ridiculous.
We live, Phil. We live in a gilded age. We do.
We live in the.
We do. The funniest thing about that is that I'm not trying to be funny. I actually believe that.
No, it's true though. We live in the future. I always say we live in the future, but
Yeah.
you say we live in a gilded age, and I think that's kind of adorable and fantastic.
Well,
And I
thank
think
you. The last thing I want to say about subtitles is the last problem I have with them is you're depending on a particular person's translation. And the most recent serious problem that I had with that, there is a Norwegian vampire movie called Let the Right One In, which is wonderful and atmospheric and creepy as all heck.
I want to say as our xenophobic person in the audience,
Yeah.
or in the again, not in the audience, as the xenophobic person in the two of us, who thinks that when you just said Norwegian vampire film, I wanted to stab myself in the ear.
Yeah.
This movie is awesome.
It's awesome.
And are you ready for this? And you ready for this? Better than the American version.
Better than although the American version was good. It was good.
Well, the American version is a horror film.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
don't think the Norwegian one was a horror
I
film.
think that's very well said.
So there you go.
But when it was released, and it's all about the language. The language is beautiful. And when it was released, because they didn't want to pay for the intellectual property of the original translation, they had someone do a different translation. But again, for intellectual property reasons, he or she had to change things that didn't need changing, so it would be different enough. And I bought this, and it was borderline unwatchable in parts.
Wow.
And there was such an outcry that they re-released the movie, and you were able to, if you had bought the crappy subtitles, you were able to turn it back in. So,
Wow.
I mean, especially Lori, if you're watching a true foreign film, not just where you can like hear it and see it and it's the same words, be careful because it might be some jerk who doesn't know what they're doing. Right? So yeah.
Good question. Good
Yeah.
question.
So that's what we got for you. That's
Have a happy weekend, America.
happy weekend, everybody.
And
Yeah.
parts unknown.
Indeed, very big in South Africa. We're watching you, South Africa.
I
We
hope
love you,
so.
South
They should be
Africa.
watching us, and I think we still have some Irish people watching us, and a couple people in China, but they're not Chinese people in China. They're Americans in China. Not the same thing.
No, it's true. We haven't cracked the Chinese market yet. I think that's our next step.
I hope so. I hope so.
Me too. Me too.
I don't actually care about if we crack the Chinese market. I really want the Indians.
Sure. Yes. I don't know
I
why.
want India.
Don't
India.
explain that to me now. Don't explain that to me now.
Okay.
This has been another Second Breakfast. I'm Andy Roth. That's Phil Duvall. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you again really soon.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.